Hey everybody, and welcome back to a dev demo. Now, as I promised, I'm going to show off the Nightmare Missile, as it's going to be called. It's basically the Halloween-themed missile that we've been planning on adding to ICBM-Classic for a very long time. It was originally designed, I want to say back in either 2012 or 2013. I don't know the exact date, because only thing I have of the original design is a poorly, crudely drawn design made with a Sharpie that I originally showed off to Cal Clav. He was like, hey, this would be a cool thing to add back when I still worked for him and he still owned ICBM. Now I decided to just go ahead and implement it, especially since now I own it and I get to make all the creative decisions. But I do have to say it's not 100% finished. I'm just at this point showing it off just because it's Halloween and I've kind of hit the deadline on doing Halloween content. And unfortunately, there's a couple other things I had planned, but I never got around to them. Like, we planned to do a skeleton pumpkin turret. For the armory mod, there was a few different Halloween themed weapons that were planned this year. I'm going to probably continue to work on those and get those done for next year. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and leave this content accessible for another week or so that way you guys can get a hold of it. Now, the Nightmare Missile will, of course, only be show by default during Halloween. I will try to add a config to force enable it because, after all, it is kind of cool and it is kind of useful-ish. But once again, it's not 100% finished, so there's more work left to do. I still have to do the boss entity that is supposed to spawn. So what's supposed to happen is when you fire this, it's supposed to spawn basically what I'm going to call the Pumpkin King. The concept was originally like a giant skeleton, but I moved more closer to a wither, which I haven't built out yet. What I have built out are these exploding bats. And the exploding bats are designed to pretty much go after players and animals. I originally made them do players, but then they're really hard to test. So I was like, you know what, make them go after animals. So that makes them really effective versus mob farms and stuff. It also has this slight chance that it might blow out power cables, knocking out your sentry guns, and letting the zombies get in a little bit closer to kill everything. Now, of course, I'm in a concrete box here, so I don't mess the train up, but if we go up and up here and fire this off, you will actually see it mess up the train. Let me place some pigs over here so we trigger the bats. The bats have a lot of AI work left to do, and I mean a lot of AI work left to do. They've been kind of tweaked. If you notice when they start to aggro on something, they have trouble tracking. That's because I'm using the normal bat logic, and the normal bat logic is basically a faked flying entity. The bats don't actually fly. They simply move, and they don't fall. So they're not properly set up. So you notice they'll get stuck on corners and stuff and everything. That's because they don't have a proper pathfinder, they don't have anything, and I have to add all that to the bat in order to get it to work properly. They do work, though, which is kind of cool. I did drop the spawn rate to this. I don't know if I uploaded the earlier videos or not. I know I did one, but there was one where it spawned like about 200 zombies. I had to cut that back because it was actually affecting game performance. I might make that scalable, but I'm not 100% sure if that's really advisable or not. Because you look at this, there's only like, I think it spawns upward of 10 bats per explosive now. It's because it's got a radius of 50, and I've got it divided by 10, so it goes 5 plus random 5. So it can spawn up to 10 bats. And they can mess up the train pretty quickly. I may actually increase the bats here pretty soon, though, because I'd like them to do a little bit of thing. A note on the bats as well, they do have a death timer on them, so if they don't kill anything within a minute, they're supposed to explode. I'm not 100% sure if that works or not. But if you plan to use this on somebody else, just keep that in mind. The bats do eventually explode, and they will damage terrain. So this could be used against opponents if you want to just cause minor terrain damage and everything else. I will continue to work on this. These bats actually were not just originally created for the Halloween content. They actually are being made for more ICBM and Armory themed content. To theme after World War II bombs that the U.S. military made to use against Japan, where they attached fire bombs, basically Molotov cocktail style devices, to bats and would release them out of a bomb, and these bats would fly into buildings, and there was a timer that would go off and it would explode, of course killing the bat, but then it would set buildings on fire. They were somewhat effective, but as you can imagine, they didn't get a lot of use because, well, they didn't exactly work well. You also had problems where the bats could fly into friendly territory and go off, and it was just easier to just use fire bombs. But I'm going to go ahead and add them because it's a unique thing we can do with Minecraft is do these bat-type entities. And it goes really, really well with the explosive creepers that we also have. Which, since I didn't mention this, both the bat and creeper that are built into Volt's engine can accept any explosive type that a missile can. Because of the way we build out all the missiles modularly, that means there's antimatter, there's red matter, there's fire bombs, there's regeneration. So if somebody wants to come in and utilize Volt's engine and make some really cool creatures, this is the way to do it. We're probably going to use this in the corruption mod whenever it gets released, so you'll have a bat that can spread corruption as it runs around and explode and stuff like that. We'll do a variety of different ones. I'll probably rig the bat out to be heavily event driven, so there'll be events that fire when it moves around, so that way we can get a ton of use out of this little entity. And we're only using one entity ID to do this, which is really nice, and you get a ton of different dynamics. The same thing works for the creeper. The creepers are planned to get tons of different benefit. I probably will make a custom creeper for this too, with a pumpkin head, just to go with the theme and get a little bit more out of the system. Because I mean, it's not as powerful as I imagined. The original plan was to like change the sky, get that huge fear factor going in, just invade you with monsters, and then you'd have this Pumpkin King that would be shouting at you and attacking you at the same time. But clearly that didn't exactly work, and it seems these blocks are not actually explosive resistant. I may have to actually go fix that. These are planned to be moved over to JSON eventually, so it'll be real easy to actually fix the explosiveness of that. Let's get some more pigs in here. I gotta admit, when they're on a flat surface, it works really, really well. But that's about it for this demo. I will show it off more as I work on it, and I will show more content off as I end up developing it. But I'll see you guys later.